We will be there should businesses need our support because there would be an important application of new tariffs. We've been there to help them since the beginning of this tariff war, and we will be there again. But I think that the government, federal government, must be there also because they are the one who are negotiating. They are the one who can see the type of impact that will be triggered into the economy with the current negotiation. So they have to be there also to help workers, to help businesses, and make sure that Quebec is not impacted more than any other province.
Okay, that is today, Christine Frechette talking about these potential tariffs and what they're going to do to Quebec. I'm sorry, James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette's on the line. Jim, this idea that the feds have to be involved, my first reaction was, well, obviously they have to be involved, and they've been involved since the beginning. So what was that all about?
Well, what struck me about all this, Aaron, is that the word seat at the table never left the Premier's head. Remember when the whole issue of negotiating with the U.S. over tariffs and the effect of these tariffs on Quebec, Madame Frechette en veut un siège à la table. You know, it's like we're part of it. We're the Quebec nation needs to be heard. And all of a sudden, as we just heard in this clip, she's saying, well, you know, the feds. Of course the feds are going to be there. Of course the feds are going to be there for Quebec and every other province because guess what? This is a national, and I'm not talking in Quebec national, I'm talking in Canadian national negotiation. And I think deep down in her heart, before next week she announces the Churchill Falls deal, which, as we learned, was in no small part made possible by the efforts of the federal government, Mark Carney. Guess what? You know, we'll probably see some kind of, you know, how can I put it, revision of the province's hard stand because let's face it, there's an election on. Madame Frechette needs to look good, and right now, for the time being, the person who's making her look pas mal belle is Mark Carney.
Look, I'm still trying to understand, how this is going to play out. And I think I said one of our CTV reporters earlier on, this hardline position about, not putting booze back in the stores, Jim, we've been talking about that for a while, right? All of a sudden, it seems to have softened to, well, if we get some of what we're asking for, then of course we'd be open to the idea. Yep. We knew this all along, didn't we? Yeah,
we knew this, but the Premier of Quebec apparently didn't. So that's the problem. And I think maybe someone sat her down and with the use of, pictograms and visual aids, helped her understand that when there's a negotiation going on, first of all, you don't shoot off your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay? And yes, of course, it is utterly the jurisdiction of the provincial government. But the idea that, and this was, this is what gets me, Aaron. And journalism and in radio and in politics, it's always the throwaway line that comes back to bite you in the butt. And frankly, the day she was asked, I don't know, it's Quebec will decide. They have and people said, well, maybe you're just getting a little too loud on this. And sure enough, she had to climb down. The same way Francois Legault had to climb down God knows how many times because he figured it was better to shoot off his mouth for the 60-second news cycle that he was creating rather than look as if he actually knew what he was doing. So, the fact that you and I are sitting here talking about a Quebec premier who's saying, well, the federal government should be involved in this. We know this. Our listeners know this. Everyone knows this. And I'm really wondering how many people, including her handlers, rolled their eyes when she actually said that out loud.
By the way, not that it matters too much, Jim, but you should know that at that press conference today, there was one question, just one, allotted to English media. Just one.
She's feeling very magnanimous, apparently.
Yeah.
To a lot. Listen, you know what? I got to tell you, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this. In my line of work, if they give me my answer in Swahili, I don't give a damn, okay? So if she wants to answer, speak in French, I'll do the translation, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But, the idea that I'm going to get my nose out of joint or something like that, it speaks, you can say it as a throwaway. She only took one question in English, and that's it. But I'm not going to get worked up about it. It tells me infinitely more about Madame Frechette and her, how can I put it, her perception of this apparently ever so important English-speaking community than anything I could say or you could say or write or do. So you know what? I prefer to let people, I don't freak out over stuff like that. I let the actions speak for themselves.
Yeah, I just thought it was part of that new tone that she was going to set, but then I played that clip back from whenever it was a few months ago. She just said she hoped for a new tone, not that there would be a new tone.
When she meant tone, Aaron, she was talking more along a color scheme, like beige,
All right, let me move on and talk about Eric Duhem, who hasn't really been in the news much, but then a pretty big announcement economic-wise anyway from the Conservatives today, Jim.
Conservatives got a Conservatives, and what's a Conservative without a fiscal chainsaw? And here's Monsieur Zame, and obviously he knows his audience. He knows he's going to make, if he's going to score, he's going to score in the Quebec City region. He's going to score with all those bureaucrats. You know full well how much of our money is being thrown out the window. So he's turning around and saying he will attack the waste of public money to the tune of, wait for it, $47 billion with a B dollars over a period of 5 years. And quite frankly, whereas it would be easy to dismiss this as, oh, come on, the guy's a Tory, what else is he going to say? Remember how much of our money this government, this utterly incompetent, suspender-snapping, Hicksville government has thrown out the window with their big, we got big plans here. We're gonna make $10 on the dollar. It's gonna be big, and in fact, it was a disaster. It's a disaster. They remember the big plant they were gonna build themselves. It's a disaster. Everything these people have touched has really blown up. So the fact that he's gonna come in, and once I say this guy knows how to pick his spots, he turns around and says, "I'm gonna cut it." Listen. Will he cut $47 billion? No. But even if he convinces somebody else who forms the government to cut maybe $10 billion, I think a lot of people will be happy. And a lot of people are exactly right now, right here in Quebec, in the mood to hear that kind of message.
Yeah, which, by the way, he's going to join me on the show tomorrow afternoon, Eric Duhem will. And I wonder if this means, you talked about this yesterday, right, that we'd not heard really anything significant from Charles Milliard. You got to wonder if this kind of pushes him to come out and say something, whether it's the economy, anything at all, because, he's kind of playing second fiddle here.
Well, Aaron, I try to be, as you well know, I try to keep it different every day. And I can't keep saying the same thing about Charles Milliard over and over and over again. But if his handlers, who apparently are the smartest people in the room, haven't figured it out yet, they're driving their guy off a cliff. Okay? I can't put it any differently than that. All right? The fact I'm hearing from Adam James, and I don't take this personally, a former radio host about the economy of Quebec, before I'm hearing from Charles Milliard, head of the Quebec Liberal Party, the party of the economy?
Yeah. Really?
Or even reacting to stuff? Is he on vacation? Is he out of town? Even PSPP said, listen, I've been out for a while, but now I'm back. This is getting scary, but like I say, you know what? I presume they're all adults over there. They know what they're doing, so let's just see how this plays out for the Quebec Liberal Party. All
right, and then finally, what's this note about you didn't have a province-wide public transit pass on your bingo card?
No, because the PQ is offering me a province-wide pass for $95. I can ride all public transit in Quebec. Here's the problem. Public transit is not province-wide in Quebec,
exactly.
Right? We're talking about the major, in Montreal, Sherbrooke, Granby. I guess if my car broke down outside of Granby, I could hop on a bus with my $95 a month pass and go to a garage. It just seems a bit weird. And of course, there's no price tag. In the finest traditions of Quebec political campaigning, there's no price tag. But these guys too, to be fair, these guys, the PQ, I'm really wondering if, apart from that big, fat, honking 550-page blue book, whether there's anything else in the cupboard or if it is, in fact, as we say, there.
Jim, last thing I want to talk about, we found out earlier today that Marwa Risky, who's been basically persona non grata for the Quebec Liberals, has resurfaced. Yeah. She's going to be hosting an afternoon, or co-hosting, I guess, an afternoon radio show in French. So what did you think of that?
Funny you should say that, because I was a huge fan of the late, great Stephen Lewis, former head of the Ontario NDP, former Canadian ambassador to the UN, and the finest public speaker this country ever produced. And he would begin his speeches by telling about his career, and then discovering that after everything else didn't work, he would say, when all else fails, there's always politics. And I would put an addendum to that saying, when politics fail, there's always talk radio.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, listen, we wish her the best. I mean, we do.
Absolutely. And I hope I'm the 10th caller in and win those tickets. But all that said, between now and then, buddy, and I say this with love in my heart, Aaron, but I just love how the whole ecosystem in the whole media / political ecosystem in Quebec actually works. It's great.
By the way, I understand she's co-hosting with someone who's a diehard separatist. So at least
that's
what
the
I'm
idea.
told. So yeah.
Okay, it's because in the end, as we all know, it's all about professional wrestling.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Adamat.
Or as Donald K. Donald used to say, improvisational athletic theater, not wrestling.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll. We're coming to get you! One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them.
It's only love, and that's all. Bryan Adams Radio. I'm coming back to you. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Everybody